Hello folks, my name is Keith German with CCI Learning. Welcome to our Jasperactive tutorial for center administrators. This tutorial video is designed to prepare you, a designated center administrator, for initial product deployment responsibilities along with the general navigation and reporting functions and how to perform actions that others do not have the rights to perform. Okay, so first, notice I've got a number of tabs open here at the top of my screen. I'm going to start by clicking the second tab at the top of my browser. I'm going to open the Center Administrator Instructions page. Notice I'm at the Getting Started as a Center Administrator. These instructions, along with your login credentials, would have been given to you upon order completion and our orders team establishing your administrator user account. This page gives you the information and step-by-step instructions to deploy Jasperactive to the appropriate personnel. Notice early on that we've provided a 5 steps to getting started tutorial. It's about 6 minutes in length. You may want to view this, although this video will cover most of what you need. You'll also find information to notify us if you encounter any login issues. Notice as I scroll down here, you'll see the instructions that you'll want to carefully follow. It's important to note that you will be giving 2 pieces of information to your instructor or instructors. So notice here in step 2, you will be logging in and sending them the teacher activation code. And in step 3, along with that, you will send them this link or URL. Kind of gives them the instructions similar to what you're following, but designed specifically to their role. Okay, so if I go to the third tab here at the top of my screen, now notice that we're viewing the Getting Started as a Teacher instructions page. So this is what you will be forwarding to your instructors. So for you visual learners, let me return back here to Jasperactive and just turn on my pointer here. Give me just a second and I'll get my red dot pointer on. I just want to point out that as the instructions said, you will log into jasperactive.com. And when you get in there, first thing you want to do is make sure that this drop down is set to the Center Administrator role. Then you will go to License Inventory. It should indicate how many licenses are available to distribute to a specific entity or entities. And then you will be able to go in there, grab that teacher code, send them the URL for the instructions page we referenced, and then your centers will have what is needed to deploy Jasperactive. All right, folks, if all you were looking for at this time is how to get your instructors up and running and launch Jasperactive, then you now have that information and you can always return to this video later for the more in-depth overview that is forthcoming. So, quick overview of the menu options for those of you that are staying with me. Each of these gray boxes on your centers panel are clickable action-based items. So if you want to view teacher details, then you can click right here. And then you would click here if you want to view or run reports, etc. At the top of the page, there are a few other clickable menu items. So if you click the item that looks like a home, then no matter where you are in the system, you can return to the Centers panel homepage. The J inside a circle is the Jasperactive installer icon. So if you have admin rights to your machine and you want to use Jasperactive lesson material live in Microsoft Office as a student, then you would use this option to install Jasperactive. The third icon is a gear or cogwheel, and you will use this to create a new center administrator role login account, or when working with your IT team to connect to Office 365 accounts. Finally, The large white box with a gray person image is what we call the avatar. And this allows you to edit your user profile data, maybe change your password, and edit login settings, etc. Okay, at this point, you would have successfully completed your initial responsibility as a center admin. So let's look at the specific actions you can take in your admin role within Jasperactive. So first, we'll look at the teacher's view. Before I click that, I will note that it does have a number in parentheses to the right, as does students. So this simply means that this is the number of accounts that were created to this center, Tolano High School in this case, with the role of teacher. And then the same, of course, over here for students. So let me click teachers. You will notice right off the bat here that one of the functions available to you is to add a new teacher to this center. Not necessarily recommended. It is an option that's available, but let others set up their own account. So I would recommend that from a center administrator role that you follow the instructions we just covered, and that is give them the teacher activation code, give them that URL link for the instructions, and then let them take it from there. Of course, you have search criteria here, so use it if you need it. Otherwise, most of you will probably simply just want to come in here and click search. When you do that, you get the teacher list view. So notice quickly that you can see who your teachers are under the center, when they last logged in, are they actively using the system? And you might even ask, can I edit any of this teacher information? Can I perform any actions or functions against their teacher account? And certainly the answer is yes. If you follow my cursor over here to the last column, the options column, you have two options available. You have the pencil edit button. We'll look at that. And then you have a building icon. If I hover that, you'll notice this is your center options, and we will certainly go through each of those options too. So to begin, let me click the pencil edit button here. This is a teacher profile. So this is the information they entered when they created their teacher account. If you ever need to, you can come in here and mark a teacher inactive by unchecking the active box. That certainly may be one of the options you will want to take at times. If this teacher has established their student account and they've aligned that account to some Microsoft Office learning courses, then you will see those listed here under the courses tab. This allows you to see if they're active, if the teacher is actually using the system to learn Microsoft Office and what their progress is. But maybe more important to you is really verifying that they do have the right role or roles depending on what has been assigned to them, and you can view that with the user roles tab. Okay, so that's just kind of a quick overview of the edit button. Now, if I come down here and click the center options button, we'll spend a little bit of time talking about each of these. If you are ever contacted and someone says, I have an account to log into Jasperactive, but some reason I don't have the teacher role, then you can actually go into our system. You'll be using a feature that we'll look at in just a second called Find Users. And then you can find that account with the information they give you, go into your options page here and convert them to a teacher account. Okay. Another option is to add a teacher or instructor to a center. That would be if someone needs access to more than one center, you do have the ability to assign that responsibility or role. You can move a teacher to another center. So if I were teaching at one particular high school and I was in the same school district, but I moved to another center or high school that also had Jasperactive, then I would ask my center administrator to transfer my login account to the new school that I'm working for. You do have the ability to remove the teacher from a center, but keep in mind there are certain kind of regulations against that depending on what data is there. If you're ever coming in here and you try to remove a teacher from a center and you're not successful, you actually get a message on that, you can contact our tech support team and we'll help. Or if you want to just keep it simple, you can just go into the edit button that I showed a few minutes ago and uncheck the active box and just mark them inactive. Anytime someone gets a hold of a teacher code and it turns out they should not have, you can come in here and remove the teacher role from them, but it still allows them to have their student account if that's appropriate, and they can go in there and continue to learn, but have the right role. I will tell you, depending on what you're selecting right here, if you select certain ones, it will refresh this grid to the left in the user information section. And in doing so, it will put a button to the left of the center or centers. And all it's saying is, tell me which center of your multiple centers you want to perform this action against. If that's not the case, then what you'll do is you'll make your action selection and you'll actually select your center down here. And then it will default the license code, the latest one for that center. If it's not correct, you can drop that down and choose the correct license and save. All right, that's teachers. Very, very similar on the student side. If I click students, same selection criteria. If I click search, then I get a list of my students here. Really, I just wanted you to see this here. The best thing I get out of this, or from a teacher perspective, is I can come in here and see a list of students for a particular center and determine whether they are logging in recently. Are they active? I do have, as a center admin, I can pencil edit and I can view their profile data. I can see what courses they're working in, what their progress is for those courses. This is probably the only button that you would use for this particular student view. The center options is more appropriate for teachers, or the find users option. Okay, and then we'll look at find users here. This is what I would call the non-role specific general catch-all search option, but with the same edit and center options functions. So again, we mentioned earlier, you might use this if you're trying to edit an account and convert them to a particular role, or honestly, you might even use it to make some edits to your own account. Okay, so now I would say the main thing most of you likely want to see is reports. So as such, I'm going to invest maybe a little more time in reports, since there are several options available, including some not so obvious features that you may want to be aware of. So let me click reports here real quick. And the first thing is just notice the general layout. I will cover 3 report options from the partner tree section here. And then 1 report option from the hyperlink in the top right corner here called Master Analysis Report. So in the partner tree, notice your selection criteria, but again, most of you will just want to click search. When you do, it gives you your search results down here at the bottom. Now I'm working with just 1 center. If you have multiple, it will display those. Let me just kind of click these arrows and open it up so you can kind of get an idea of what this looks like visibly. And so some of these things are not necessarily so obvious to you on the screen, but so I'll turn my pointer on. You actually can run 3 reports from the partner tree. First, you can run a centers report. How do you do that? You simply put your cursor on the center name and click, and it will show you your instructions, your selection criteria, and then you can run that report. Next, your second report from this view is you can run a license report. So different report, different set of data, criteria, selection criteria. So basically you would click the license number and it would launch the report criteria and you could run the report. Then for each teacher that actually is active and they have active students, then they will have already created groups for those students for tracking progress and grading, etc., and put those students in those groups. If you take your cursor under a particular teacher and you put your link on the group name, then you can run a groups report. So we have 3 reports here. We have a centers report, a licenses report, and a groups report. I recommend that once your teachers confirm that they are up and running and they have students that with active data, that you begin to run these reports and become familiarize yourself with them. I will tell you that when you get into any of our reports, you will find a little disk icon. It's a save icon, and when if you ever need to export our reports, the view of those reports to say Excel or PDF or Word, then use that icon and become familiar with it. Let's take a look at probably the more commonly used report and the one you may get the most benefit from, and that is the Master Analysis Report. Okay, notice this one here's got a lot more selection criteria for obvious reasons, and this is more of that comprehensive data that's available to you. And if you need to drill down to specific selection criteria, maybe a specific student name, you can do that. Not sure how often you'll use that, but most of you will likely come in here and you'll select which teacher you're running your master report for. You can select all as well. And once you select your teacher or teachers, then you can come in here and select a specific group, or you can select all, and it will give you that information. Most of you will want to know that you can run the master report on a specific date range. That will help those of you that are doing budget planning, or maybe you're working on a Perkins grant. Sometimes we hear that state accountability reporting requires this date range. And obviously your CTE directors will likely be asking for information, and if they request it for a certain period of time of student activity, then you need to know that you have that option available. And notice a little bit of a quick tip here, if I can. Anytime you ever get to our calendar options here, if you need to get to a specific month or day or year, and clicking these black arrow buttons too many times is agitating, did you know that you can click the header and it will convert it to a year, and you can much more easily get to a certain year? So if I needed to run this report for January 1, 2016 to December 31, then notice how much quicker that is than actually clicking those black buttons. In the application group, you might like the idea that you can come in here for a specific office product and run this report, and you can even click these arrows and drill down to very specific criteria, lesson material for those office products. Do you want assessment results data on your report? The benchmark exam that students began with before learning. Then they went into a create project. Maybe they did some geometrics practice exam. Would you like the last result that was available for them? We do track the number of attempts and lesson training time. Do you want that on your report and their quiz results? You kind of get the picture there. Once you make all your selection criteria, then decide if you want to push this out to a Microsoft Excel format, or maybe a comma delimited CSV file for importing into something like an LMS system, etc. So, okay, these are actually the primary center admin functions that we'll cover. Before we finish this tutorial, let me simply show you some support options and resources that you'll want to be aware of. At any time, you and your colleagues can reach out to our tech support team, and by using the options that are available to you at the top of the screen here. So if I turn my pointer back on, notice at the top here, you have a support link that you can click. Let me take a look at those real quick. I'll go to the support page first. I encourage you to familiarize yourself with our how-to guides. Those are broken out into small segments, easy to read, easy to follow. Many of them also have video tutorials with them. Make sure your teachers are aware of that, especially in the getting started stage. Definitely our video library on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. Center administrators, make sure your teachers know early on that they should go to the support page here, and they should click sign up, and that allows them to create a login account, so that as they encounter issues or need to report something to us, they can then go in here to submit a ticket. And then as they submit that and we're working on whatever they've reported, they can check their ticket status as they need to. And you'll love knowing that we have created a getting started page here on our support page. So one thing to point out here is, of course, here's that 5 steps video that your new teachers will want to be aware of. These are clickable logos here. So depending on which product version you're using in Jasperactive, for instance, if you're using the Jasperactive with Gmetrics, then you can actually click this logo. And guess what it does? It takes you back to this page here that's called Getting Started as a Teacher, and it allows you to give that information to, say, a new teacher that's come on board maybe in the middle of the school year, or a long-term sub, or someone that needs to get up and running as a teacher role. So be aware of that and make your teachers aware of that as well. The last thing we're going to look at here is how to contact us directly. If this is our company website as opposed to our product website, so ccIlearning.com, and you can come to contact us. What you mostly want to get out of this is how to find our direct phone number, but our technical support still answers live phone calls, and we have our direct lines listed here. We have an email account that also creates tickets if you don't use the submit a ticket option. That email account is help@jasperactive.com, help@jasperactive.com, and you can click this to always get to our support page. Okay, so thank you folks for joining us today and for your valuable time and investing in our learning products. I hope you have found this tutorial of value. We look forward to being of service moving forward. Thank you very much.